Hey everybody, welcome to That Vinyl channel. I'm That Vinyl Guy Boz. On this episode, I'm going to explain how I pick out records from used record stores, specifically digging through the bargain bin, dollar bins, and I come across records that I'm not even familiar with. I don't know, I've never heard the band before. I don't know exactly, what style they are, what they're singing. I'm not really sure. But how do I go about and deciding from these records which ones that I want to buy? So I do have some, I don't know, the word basic rules that I go by when deciding whether or not to go ahead and pick up one of these records. I'm going to go ahead and share those with you. Have that coming up next, so stick around and don't touch that dial. Okay, so over the last few years, I would say 5, 7 years, maybe 8 years, I really have been getting into picking up records, both from local record stores and eBay. But in this video, I'm going specifically talking about used record stores and independent record stores. But I've been picking up records that from bands that I don't know, bands I've never heard of. You know what? A lot of these bands only put out 2, 3, maybe 4 records, and for some reason they just didn't make it. They ended up not being popular, and they're a drop. By the label, and but these records are out there. A lot of them end up being cutouts, but they're out there. They're in bargain bins. They're in dollar bins, and a lot of this stuff is actually great music. And you wouldn't know if you never listen to it. If you don't give these bands, you give these artists a chance. So whenever I'm out and I'm out in a used record store and I'm looking through the dollar bin bargain bin, and there are things that I'll look at when I stop and I see something that's interesting and I'm not familiar with it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one record here. So this here is a band called Nectar. Okay. Now this here, you all might know this. It's still not that popular band. It's kind of like Klaatu in a way. I had never heard of them before, and I came across this in the bargain bin. By the way, all the records I'm going to show you today, I didn't pay any more than about $5 for. So anyway, so I came across this record here, and I want to buy stuff that I know that I'm going to like. Stuff that's in the genres that I like, at a minimum, right? I'm not going to go out and buy something that's opera. I'm not going to go out and buy something that's old country or something like that I don't enjoy. I want to buy stuff in the genres that I like, which is mainly soft rock, hard rock, not too much in the metal. I do like the newer country, but then we're talking about older records, so that doesn't even come into play. So just mainly, again, soft rock, classic rock, hard rock, stuff like that. And there's some dates in there too as well, from about the early to mid 70s through the mid to late 80s and into the early 90s. Really is the kind of records that really I'm talking about here. So I came across this, and the first thing I do is that caught my eye was the artwork. And of course, it's right there on the front. I look at it, and it did remind me a little bit of Klaatu, and I do like Klaatu. And so I'm looking at this. I'm like, that's pretty cool. You can learn a lot by what the artist names the record, and what artwork they chose, and et cetera, et cetera. So and then I turn it over, and it's got a bunch of information on the back, of course. And I look at this, and it tells me here that it's copyright 1974, Passport Records. Okay, so Passport is not a very big label. I think I have one other Passport record in my collection, but yeah, so 1974. So now we're talking about a specific time frame of rock music. Rock music sounds different from all the different years. Rock music made in 74 is going to sound different than in 78, than rock music made in the early 80s and even in the late 80s. So, I lived through all that. I lived through all those decades. I listened to the radio, all the time. And I'm very familiar with how rock changed through all this time. So I have a pretty good idea, based on what I'm seeing here. It's 1974. So here they have keyboards, guitars, lead vocal, bass, drums, stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure that this is not going to be a country, a country record. It doesn't look like anything that a country artist, in my opinion, would put out. It doesn't look like anything, it could be jazz, but I didn't think it was jazz, not based on what I see here. I like seeing the band members a lot of times, and I'll show you here shortly. But a lot of times you can tell a lot by just seeing pictures of the band members. But unfortunately, on this one, they didn't have any pictures, but that's okay. They had a lot of great artwork on this. And even looking at the titles of the song, right? We have Images of the Past, Wheels of Time, Remember the Future, Confusion. That's side one. Side two, we have Returning Light, Questions and Answers, Tomorrow Never Comes, Path of Light. So looking at the titles of the songs also gives you a clue what those songs might sound like. So, this was like, again, about $5. And I was definitely intrigued by this. I did my due diligence. I told myself this is something I'm probably going to like. And so I went ahead and got it, even though I had no idea really who this band was. Now, before I go to the next one, I should mention this earlier, so I'm going to cut right here and tell you this. Some of you are saying, like, well, you know what? You got your cell phone. Get your cell phone out. Go to YouTube. Play some of their songs. Look them up. You know what? That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. I used to do that a long time ago, 10 years ago. I used to go into record stores and sit there with my cell phone. And you know what? Instead of being in the record store for half an hour or 45 minutes, I'm in the record store for 2 or 3 hours doing this because it just takes so long for you to do that. And I've actually been places where I don't have a signal and the store doesn't have Wi-Fi, or they're not willing to give me the Wi-Fi key. So I'm dead in the water in those instances. So it's good to have these skills to just go through these records and and learn how to distinguish what's something that you're probably going to like based on something you're probably not going to like. Okay, here's another one that I got. I got this one over the summer, last summer, and this here is the New Monkeys. Okay, so I never heard this band before. But luckily it has pictures of the artist, which is great. It has this multicolor front, so I'm thinking of, it kind of reminds me a little bit. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not getting any glare here. So I'm trying to look at this and looking at them, and they have pictures of the members in the back. There you go, and you can see them right there. Right, you have a couple of rejects from the early 80s. These guys look about for the right time, because this came out in 1987. There's a date down here at the bottom that says 1987. So again, that gives me a time frame about the kind of music that I want to hear on this. Again, it looks like some kind of rock music. Maybe not rock per se. It might be like new wave type stuff. It could be synth rock and stuff like that, which I do like. So if I'm looking at this, I'm saying that these guys kind of look like Duran Duran, kind of remind me a little bit of Spandau Ballet, and those kind of groups. That's probably is going to be similar to what I'm going to hear on this. In '87, it was really big on synth music. It really started coming out more and more. So and based on on the information here, and of course again. Another big thing is to take a look at the titles of the song. It gives you an idea. You got Burning Desire, Affection, Corner of My Life, Turn It Up, Do It Again, The Way She Moves. So that gives me an indication again that we're looking at some rock-based music, whether it be synth or whether it be what have you. And there's a good chance I'm probably going to like whatever this music is. And for just $5, I was willing to go ahead and figure out what this was. So again, it's something you have to learn, and as you go on. So, but actually, both I should mention this. Both the Nectar album I just showed you and this one, especially this one. This album here is really good. It wasn't as synth as I thought it was going to be. It's more on the rock side, although it does have some synth stuff in it. But it's really good. The songs have a lot of energy. The lyrics are really good. I've played this a couple times actually since I bought it, and I really like this album a lot. As far as I understand, this band only put out one album, so it's kind of sad because I wish that they had more stuff. But yeah, so it was it was just a very good album and something that I decided to go ahead and pick up. All right, so this one here I got out of a. Not a dollar bin, but this one was just $3 from a pawn shop. So I was actually digging through. Pawn shops are hit and miss. I kind of try to stay away a little bit of pawn shops, because what I don't like about pawn shops is they just dump the records into a bin or somewhere, and you end up, a lot of their stuff is just not in great condition. A lot of the stuff is scratched up. It's they just dump this stuff, and you really have to look through these records to really find these gems, and it takes a lot more time. I already have been burned before in pawn shops, gone in there, buy a couple records, didn't really pay attention as I should have as to the condition of the record, got home, and it was pretty scratched up. That was on me. But since then, I really know that if I'm going to a pawn shop, I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time. But they had a bin where all the records were $3. So I think I could pick up about 5 records from them, and this was one of them. But based on, again, so we got this awesome artwork here. This is Heaven, Knocking on Heaven's Door. Okay, so I'm looking at the back here. Now we're talking about, looks like what you see at a rock concert. You got the, these guys with the pyrotechnics behind them, and the guitars and the drums and all this stuff. And this one was actually released in 1985. Back then, this would probably have been characterized as metal. And when I saw this, that's what I probably figured out. I'm not a fan of metal per se, metal for today. Back then, stuff that was in the mid to late 80s, things that were considered metal are not considered metal today. They're considered hard rock. So, but I do like this kind of stuff, and I, based on everything I see here, based on, again, go through the names of the songs: Last Laugh, Burn, Keep the Fire, Show on the Road, Wink of an Eye, No Turning Back. So, all these names, it doesn't sound like Lover's Lament stuff. It doesn't sound like anything that is going to be, super slow, or stuff I'm not going to like, or what have you, And, but yeah, I was, you know what else you can do? Now, the last ones I showed you, I should have showed you on the previous one on the New Monkeys. That's Warner Brothers label. So Warner Brothers is also not really big in certain genres as well. So just by looking at the label a lot of times, and the year that it was released would also give you a clue as to what kind of music you're probably going to hear on it. But this one here, this was on the Columbia label. So, Columbia was putting out a lot of rock albums during this time, but they were putting out a lot of some country stuff too, like Willie Nelson and stuff like that. But based on this here, I didn't think I was going to get anything like Willie Nelson based on this artwork. So again, digging through the records, this artwork caught me. It stood out. I had to stop and look at it. I checked the record condition. It was in awesome shape. So I pretty much was pretty sure I was going to like this. Okay, and then a couple of days ago, I went to a record store in Tampa, Florida, and I picked up a couple more records. Again, same thing in their bargain bin. So the first one here is called Straps with 2 P's. Okay, you notice the price here, $4.99. That's all I paid for this. Again, $5. So so this was on the Harvest label. Okay, so this came out in 1977. Looking at the picture of the band members, you get a good idea. Again, this is probably not going to be country. It's probably not going to be anything I'm not going to like. It looks like guys who are going to be on guitars and playing some rock music. We have just the name of the record, Secret Damage. That's a very cool title for a record. We have down the titles of the songs: Down to You, Pain of Love, Child of the City, In Your Ear, Violent Love. So again, this tells me this is probably going to be some rock in some form. Probably in '77, a lot of members, a lot of people putting out rock music. That's about when Boston's debut album came out. What, 76, right? If I'm wrong, please forgive me, but I think that's about right. So, so rock was really taking a turn back in the mid '70s, getting away from the more softer rock and the more folky sound of the early '70s, and more into this harder stuff, or what I considered back then harder stuff. and this looked like that. So I haven't played it yet. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I'm probably going to play it today, but I did want to show this to you that this is one that I picked out. And we have one more here. So this here, again, I bought this a couple days ago, and this is Modal. So I never heard this band before. Okay, so again, this one here was just $4. See here, price tag says $3.99. So this here was just $4. Again, you know, I looked at the condition of the record. The record looked like it hadn't been played. It's a cutout. You see the little notch here. It was a cutout, which means that it wasn't sold initially. It was returned back to the distributor, and then they sent it to places that would sell cutouts. Again, it has pictures of the band members all over the record. I'm looking at their hairstyle based on everything that I'm seeing. And what was the year on this? So this is Geffen. Okay, so Geffen is known for a lot of their rock albums. Also, a little bit on the new wave kind of stuff, stuff like that. This one here was put out again in 1985. I really like the music from the mid 70s to the mid 80s. It's great stuff. So, and again, looking at the titles of the music, we have Out of Mind, Out of Sight, which is the title of the record, which I thought was a great title. Big on Love, Stormy Night, Ringing the Bell, King of Kings, Cold Fever. So again, with a name like Modals, this kind of again reminded me of like Duran Duran and Spandau Ballet and stuff like that. You know, maybe like the Motels, and you know, which is like Modals, Motels. So who knows, right? But this is probably going to be, you know, on the rock side, whether it be more on the synth or more on the new wave or more mainstream rock. But it was something that I definitely wanted to pick up and wanted to hear and see what it is. Now, there are times where I do this, where I will pick up records like this, and I take it home, I play it, and it's not what I thought it was. It's either super soft, a lot of Lover's Lament, a lot of super slow, and stuff like that, which I'm not really into that much. You know, soft rock is okay, but it still has to have a beat. You know, some soft rock, just super soft rock, just doesn't have enough of a beat for me. Yeah, so there have been times where I bought records like this, got home, and I didn't care for it for one reason or another. There was one record where I just didn't care for the lead singer's voice. It was just annoying. It just kind of grated on me. I had to turn it off halfway through the first side. I just couldn't take the singer's voice anymore. So you know, there's going to be hit and miss. But I would say out of every 10 that I buy, maybe one record that maybe two, but usually about one record that I'm just not going to like, which is a pretty good average if you ask me. You know what? And the more you do it, the more you learn. The more you buy these bargain records, even in dollar bins. You know, this one here was not very much money. So, and you pick up these great records, and you hear this great music from people, you know, and I haven't looked them up. I don't think that they put out very many albums either. So, and I can't wait to hear it. Okay, so that's my video for you today. I did want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope everyone got something out of this. If you have any questions or comments or anything at all, please go ahead and leave it below. I try to answer everyone's questions. If you have not subscribed to my channel, now is a great time to do so. Don't forget to go ahead and tap on that subscribe button and go ahead and bash on that bell for notifications, and that way you know when I put up brand new videos, just like this one here. But again, I want to thank everybody for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time.